Hey girls, I'm really glad you came back to listen to another video. Make yourself comfortable here. Feel free to ask me questions in the comments or request topics you want me to talk about. I read all of your comments, and many of these videos are created because of what you ask. Today, we're going to talk about something subtle, uncomfortable, and extremely powerful. Today, we're going to talk about the law of silence. Most people think silence is weakness. They think that if you don't speak, you lose control of the situation. In reality, the opposite is often true. Silence, when used with awareness, is one of the strongest psychological positions you can hold in an emotional dynamic. Let's start with something most people never notice. In emotional conversations, the person who feels the urge to speak first is usually the person who feels the most internal pressure. They want to reduce tension. They want to fix the discomfort. They want to restore emotional balance as quickly as possible. And without realizing it, that urgency gives away leverage. Here is the uncomfortable truth. In every interaction, someone sets the emotional pace. Someone reacts faster. Someone explains more. Someone waits. Someone feels responsible for easing the tension. And someone does not. This is not about intelligence or kindness. It is about emotional regulation, and regulation quietly creates power. The law of silence works because the human nervous system is deeply uncomfortable with unresolved emotional space. When you stop filling that space with words, the mind of the other person begins to work. They replay the interaction. They search for meaning. They question their assumptions. All of this happens internally without you doing anything at all. Most people destroy this effect by panicking. They over-explain their intentions. They justify their tone. They soften every edge. They rush to make sure they are understood. And in doing so, they remove all psychological weight from their presence. Silence is not about ignoring someone. It is not about punishment or emotional withdrawal. Those are fear-based behaviors, and they are easy to sense. The law of silence only works when your silence is calm, grounded, and emotionally present. You are still there. You are simply not performing. Think about how often you speak just to manage someone else's feelings. How often you explain just to reduce their discomfort. How often you talk because silence feels unbearable. Every time you do that, you train the other person to expect emotional labor from you. When you choose silence instead, something changes. The emotional responsibility shifts. The other person becomes aware of their own tension, and awareness creates movement. There is a reason silence feels intimidating. It removes the script. When the script disappears, people reveal more than they intend to. They talk more. They adjust their tone. They expose their insecurities. Silence creates a mirror, and not everyone is comfortable with what they see reflected back. The darker layer of this law is not about controlling someone else. It is about controlling your impulse to react. When you can sit calmly in silence, you communicate emotional stability. And emotional stability is deeply attractive because it signals self-sufficiency. Words are not powerful because they exist. They are powerful because they are limited. When you speak less, what you say carries more weight. When you speak constantly, even important words lose impact. Silence also interrupts emotional manipulation. Many manipulative patterns rely on immediate reactions. Guilt needs reassurance. Provocation needs defense. When you do not react on cue, the pattern collapses. This does not mean you never speak. It means you choose when to speak. You allow pauses. You let moments breathe. You respond instead of reacting. And in that space, dynamics begin to rebalance naturally. If this feels uncomfortable, that is a sign you are breaking an old conditioning. You were taught that being good means being emotionally available at all times. But constant availability often leads to emotional exhaustion and loss of influence. The law of silence is about self-respect. It is about trusting that you do not need to explain yourself into being valued. It is about allowing others to meet you where you are, instead of you always moving toward them. When you master silence, you stop leaking energy. And when your energy is contained, it becomes noticeable. People feel it, even if they cannot explain why. Thank you for listening to me. Follow me if you want to hear more. I have many more surprises planned for you in the future.